Are you getting ready to negotiate with a narcissist and you want to know why they are so dang difficult? Then you definitely won't want to miss this episode. This is actually part one of a three-part episode. And I'm super excited because I've joined forces with the foremost authority, the foremost expert psychologist in the area of narcissism, Dr. Ramani. And so we're going to be bringing you many, many episodes. This one is on specifically on how to negotiate with a narcissist and why they're so difficult. I'm also super excited to announce to you that today I am launching my brand new course, Slay Your Negotiation with a Narcissist. And because of that, I'm offering some special bonuses and discounts. Get the details below. They are only available for a limited time, so you're definitely going to want to jump on that and grab that. Next up is the video, and make sure you watch till the end of the video so that when I release part two, that you'll be all up to date and you'll be able to catch right back up on where we left off. I am super excited to bring you this, bringing the legal perspective, the psychological perspective, and how to deal with and divorce that narcissist in your life. I will see you on the inside. You ready to go? Let's go.
Hi, Rebecca Zung here with you on another episode of Negotiate Your Best Life. I am a top 1% divorce attorney, best-selling author of the books Negotiate Like You Matter and Breaking Free Step-by-Step Divorce Guide. And in these videos, I give you all kinds of tips and tricks on how to negotiate with a narcissist or how to navigate that high conflict personality. I am so thrilled to kick off this series today with the topic of why is it so difficult to negotiate with a narcissist. And with this entire series, I am here with Dr. Ramani, which is my thrill, my honor, my joy to be here with the foremost authority on narcissism. Dr. Ramani is a psychologist. She knows this subject inside and out. She's dedicated her life and her career to it. And together, we bring a perspective to you on the legal perspective, the psychological perspective. And so this series is going to be absolutely incredible. So if you haven't already, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's dive in.
Why is it so difficult to negotiate with a narcissist? So I'm going to turn to you, just ask that to you as a question, because I know I got my answer. Why is it so difficult to negotiate with a narcissist from an attorney's perspective?
Well, okay, so what I'm going to tell you is that most people think that they're so difficult because they want to win. And so, they're going to do whatever they can to win, which is true. They are going to do whatever they can to win. However, that is not actually what they want. What they really want is to manipulate you. So they constantly are moving the target. So even if they give you three choices of things that they say that they'll settle for, and you pick one, well, now it's changed. Because they are, the goal is to manipulate you. The goal is to make it as difficult for you as possible.
So maybe that is the win, though. I think that I think your initial premise that they want to win, I think for them, winning is manipulating.
Well, that's my point.
Because they're still playing with your head. But it's not winning the way
a rational person
thinks.
Yes,
not the way a rational person thinks.
Because a rational person thinks, well, if I give them everything they're asking for, then they've won, so they should be happy.
Right.
But that's not what they want. So you have to understand that what their real goal is to manipulate you, because then they maintain a sense of control over you.
So what's interesting about that, though, is that this idea, because you said something interesting, that if you give the narcissist everything they want, then they'll be happy, and this will go smoothly. My guess is that, and you'll know this better than I because you're in the actual legal setting with them, that a lot of people who enter into negotiations with narcissists they're conflict averse. They don't want to fight.
100%.
They don't like, so to them, they've been forever trying to deal with this elusive target of the narcissist's happiness. One thing I really try to impart on the clients I work with is there's no such thing as a happy narcissist.
No, but what happens is, as you know, they start off this relationship with this whole love bomb phase. And so they spend the rest of their relationship trying to find that space again because they once loved them. They used to be so great to them. They used to be so wonderful. So if I'm just good enough, if I just do what they
absolutely.
want, then I'll be able to find that again. But every single person who comes through the doors of my office says, I don't want to fight. Every single
That's
one.
interesting.
Every single one says, I don't want to fight, I don't want to spend a lot of money.
So here's my question. Do you ever get the narcissistic clients?
Oh, all the time.
So, okay, so they're not going to come in and say, I don't want to fight.
No, they do say, I don't want to fight.
Really?
Oh, yeah. But they say, we're pretty much agreed on everything. They think that they've already talked their victim into an agreement. So they think it's going to be easy. And of course, they still treat the attorney like they treat everybody else. So this isn't going to cost a lot of money. So you don't need to spend a lot of time on this. So, I'll just bring the agreement to you and you'll just draft it up and it's not going to cost a whole lot of money.
Have you ever had a case in negotiating a divorce where somebody has come in and said, I am looking for a fight? I'm going to punish this, you know what? Or
every once in a while, but it's more like the spurned person, like the person. And it's not that they say that I'm looking for a fight. It's more, I deserve this.
All right.
They spin it differently than that. It's more like he should pay because he cheated on me because we were supposed to stay married the entire time or whatever. I call that the difference between divorce law and divorce justice, because divorce justice doesn't actually
I like
exist.
that. Yeah. Well, and it's a common trope we hear is the pit bull attorney. Hire me a pit bull. I need me a pit bull. Somebody who walks into a lawyer's office and says, I want a pit bull, is looking for a fight.
Well, I think in their mind, though, they're looking to protect themselves.
Well, okay, excellent. That's a great distinction. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Even though ultimately they are actually looking for a fight.
And I've had people say, I'm hiring you because you're a pit bull, and I'm always thinking, that's really interesting because I think I'm just trying to be fair for my client or advocate for my client.
Right.
But when you're dealing with a narcissist, and going back to the question of why it's so difficult to deal with a narcissist, when you get into that litigation setting, because remember, you're dealing with the most scared, the most insecure personality type there is. Even though they put on this great big show, they actually have zero self-esteem. So they get all of their value from the external, and as you know, the supply.
Yeah.
And so when they get into this litigation setting, they can't allow themselves to look bad. And now they've got this person who knows stuff about them, who has the ability to make them look bad by exposing them on some way.
That's exactly right.
And so what they do is they go on the offensive right away. Triangulation, trying to get everybody against them, lying, manipulating everything the other person says. It doesn't matter what they say, it gets manipulated. So that's partially why it's extremely difficult when you get in that setting, because they go into survival mode.
The narcissist or the person?
Does.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would actually argue both people are going to survival mode.
Both of them do.
Like everyone's got, especially the victim, for lack of a better word, might have their hands up against their face, like to try to protect themselves, which is something they've been sort of quietly doing for the duration of a relationship. Would you say, though, then, because we're calling this negotiating with a narcissist, and obviously many of you I know who are watching are going through a divorce, but would you say these kinds of negotiation techniques would apply in other situations, a workplace setting or any of these?
Anytime you're dealing with a high conflict personality, anytime you're dealing with a narcissist, even if they're not technically, a narcissist, if they have a high conflict personality, if they have a personality where they want to have control, where they're easily slighted, where they all of the personality traits of a narcissist, it's the same kind of thing that you're going to be dealing with, and so you can't go at it like a rational person. Rational people say, well, let's just find some middle ground and we can settle and we can have an agreement. That will never happen when you're dealing with a narcissist.
I would also imagine, and one of the tricky bits in narcissistic divorce, I see this all the time with my clients, is that a person has been hurt by the narcissist's infidelity, the narcissist lying, the narcissist level of severe, almost coercive control, okay? We live in a country where most states in the United States have what are called no-fault divorces, which means that there's no attribution of blame that has anything to do with how resources are divvied up. So in other words, it's not like you get a bonus because your partner cheated on you. Like, it doesn't matter why the relationship ended, it ended. And I think in the world of the no-fault divorce, the narcissistic divorce is even more painful for people because there was so much due cause, right? Like, they're like, are you kidding me? This person gets 50% of my stuff and they cheated on me with 15 different people and this and that. And as the attorney, you must have to say, yep.
Well, it depends.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes. So I just want to dispel a myth. And the myth is that no fault means that fault never matters.
Okay, great. That's an important point to clarify.
Yes, so no fault only means that you don't have to prove fault in order to get a divorce.
Okay.
So for years and years and years, you couldn't get divorced unless you proved that a person cheated on you or proved that a person abandoned you or something.
Okay.
No fault just means that you don't have to prove fault.
You can just say, I'm done.
You can just say it's irretrievably broken or whatever you say, in which, each state has their own nomenclature.
Right.
But it doesn't mean fault never matters.
Okay.
Because fault can matter. In fact, in Florida, in the alimony statute, it actually says that infidelity can be taken into consideration. Now, I've never seen a judge say, I'm ordering more alimony because the person cheated. But judges are people too. And so if you shock the judicial conscience in such a way where you're so bad and you've treated the person so horribly, they will take that into consideration.
That's very interesting.
And they can take it, and certainly they can take it into consideration when it comes to splitting assets. Because if somebody has spent a lot of money on a paramour of some sort, and I've seen the worst situations. I mean, I saw a guy who had a relationship with a woman for years and years. He bought her a house. They had a child together. He was sending the child to private school, all kinds of things and the wife never knew that this woman existed. And so, hundreds of thousands of dollars of marital money went into this person. And so the wife was entitled to half of that, what we call marital waste or dissipation.
Oh, interesting.
So,
okay.
So it's
that's important to know.
Yes.
That's really important to know.
It's not that fault never matters.
Okay. It can matter.
It can matter.
But you are a bit at the mercy of the court.
It is. I mean, you start with the premise of 50-50 in most states. And, some states call it equitable distribution. Some states call it community property. But it's kind of basically the same, where you have a marital pot, you have a non-marital pot. I mean, there's a his, hers, and theirs is what I call it. But it's not that it never matters. It can matter.
It can matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that one thing while assets matter, and they matter a lot for people, because many times people are saying, listen, I've worked with a lot of people who are the non-wage earning partner in the relationship, men or women, and they may have lost years in the workforce, right? So they're not going to be able to make as much money. So, equitable division of assets matters, but narcissists are tricky. Right, so they are very clever.
They hide money.
They hide money, and forensic
100%.
accounting is expensive, and all of that.
Yep.
But when it comes down to brass tacks, all things being equal, as long as people can pay the rent, the bigger issue becomes custody. And I guess that's something we're going to get to, and talk about, because I know that a lot of the people who are watching, that when it comes down to it, they'll say, you know what, I'd be happy to give it all up if I could get full custody. My understanding, and this is where your clarification would be great, that's not permissible to say, I won't take a cent, but I want the kids.
Well, child support is a right of the child.
Right.
It's a vested right of the child. It's actually in trust for the child in some ways, even though it doesn't go into a trust. And actually child support is an interesting thing too, because the way child support actually works is it seems like one is paying the other. But what's really happening is that if you look at the child support statutes, if you ever get a copy of the statute book, you will see the way it looks is that there's one number for that child. So if the parents' combined income is X per month, then this is how much they should be spending on this child. And they take a lot of things into consideration. They, whatever the value is of putting a roof over the kid's head or feeding this kid or whatever the average is for that. And so they come up with a number that child should have spent on him based on these parents'
Interesting.
combined incomes. And so, and then they you know, if there's a disparity in incomes, then that disparity is what gets paid to the other parent.
Okay. But there's going to be a disparity in income many, many times.
Of course.
Especially when you have a wage earning and a non-wage earning situation. So when we get out of the sort of the finer legal points, what people will say is that, you know, usually it's the narcissistic parent is saying, why the hell should I give her that much money? You just said it's not giving her anything, it's for the child. They're not going to see it that way.
No.
As far as they're concerned, you can say all the legal statutes, you know, till the cows come home, this is going to the child. That narcissistic parent sees that money going to that parent who makes less money or no money
100%.
to take care of that child.
100%.
Okay? So going back to, again, to that original question, that while child support is for the child, I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with who said, can't I go to the court? And because the argument is becoming, the narcissist is like, I don't want to give him or her anything.
Because
okay?
the court doesn't want children to become wards of the state.
That's right. I understood. But you
so
see,
they won't allow anybody to give up child support.
so then where that was, that's the interesting conundrum that the victim, as you will, the other partner who's not narcissistic or parent gets into is that they're like, I just don't want my kids to be raised by this person. This person is toxic. They might be dangerous, but we know that that level of dangerousness that has to be established.
What you're getting into, though, is leverage.
Okay, and that's what we're going to get to. Interesting.
Yeah, because, you know, that's a point of leverage. You know, saying I'll give up child support, that's something that you don't want to give in on right away because you want to get other things first. I mean, there are ways that you can get around the whole child support thing, which we'll get into in that episode. But that is a piece of leverage that you don't want to give away, and don't give away your leverage too early, people, please.
And that right, that's a big issue.
Thanks for watching this part 1 of the 3-part episode on why negotiating with a narcissist is so difficult. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the little notification bell so that you don't miss one single tip or trick. And also make sure to check below for details on my brand new course, as well as downloading my all free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet. There's a link to that as well. And I will see you in the next episode, part 2 of my discussion with Dr. Ramani on why negotiating is so difficult. Until then, today is a great day to start negotiating your best life.